rider might have realized how dangerous that was. And right there, running another red light, cutting those people off, making left turns. This is one of those situations where we watch, up here in Skyfox, and the viewers at home, we just sit there and it is a nail biter. You just don't want to see, even though this person is being very defiant, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially somebody on a motorcycle at those high speeds. One wrong move, one vehicle that just isn't aware that that motorcycle is traveling at 100 miles an hour or plus, it creates a problem. There you go, the sheriff's department. And this is the thing, that motorcyclist basically just, again, there you see that defiance, and, just got in front of him and is now really moving out again. I believe that we're going to be on, I'm trying to get streets for you right now, but this is that attitude is what's going to get somebody, hopefully nobody, but it's just somebody's going to get hurt in this. And these are one of those ones where we watch from Skyfox, and you just don't want to see a tragic ending, even though this person today, really the suspect, just really just taking so many chances, just trying to get away from law enforcement.
Yeah, this is incredible. Even seeing the driver traveling at what is obviously a very high rate of speed here, and you see it again relative to the cars that are on the roadway there, on a surface street no less, unloading as fast as he can down this street, and then coming to slowing to, as he approaches this intersection there. And as you saw, completely defiant when that black and white, the sheriff's vehicle, came right upon his rear. He kind of motions to them. You're wondering if he was using some kind of an offensive signal to him using his hands, and being completely defiant here. So we're still, it appears, in the East San Gabriel Valley area as this motorcycle continues to drive at a high rate of speed. You were talking about the weather too, and some of the sprinkles that we had earlier today. There was still water on the roadways. I was driving there this morning, and when you have a situation where we haven't had any weather for a very long period of time, and you have some moisture on the roadways with the dust that's on the roadways, the oils, they can be a lot more slick at this point. So it's really extremely dangerous for this driver to be, motorcyclist to be driving at this high rate of speed. But then there you see, completely ignoring the helicopter that's overhead, and completely ignoring the black and whites that continue to follow this motorcycle through the San Gabriel Valley area and traveling at a very high rate of speed. Trying to get an idea of where we're looking at right here. Stu?
Well, we were on Sunset, and I believe he just made a turn on Francisquito. Basically, this is an area where it's a southeast type of direction, that road right there. Skyfox making our way over towards that area right there. We're in a backup ship today that can tell you, Adam working the one radio we have feverishly, so we can keep communications and stay safe up here in Skyfox. Just made a turn into a residential neighborhood. That's going to be a little bit harder for us to get an actual street name for, but maybe California Street, I believe, is what we're hearing right now. But this is going to be one of those ones. If he gets into, maybe he's in the area where he's near his home. Maybe he can, people try to abandon that motorcycle and make a run for it. Here we go again. Another smaller street out here. But one of the things that we watch from Skyfox is in these situations where they drive so fast out here. The law enforcement, they're going to play the safety card. They're going to back off. They've got the helicopter up above. But the deal is folks that are just making that turn, going, making their way onto the street, if they see that motorcycle off in the distance, they think they're clear. Nobody's really, you're not thinking that bike is going to be moving at 80, maybe 90 miles an hour on a street. And clearly he's in an area where he knows where he is. He was just gesturing some people that are waiting out on the lawn there. So now we're going to keep an eye on where he goes if he stays in this neighborhood. But definitely there was some gesturing right there to some folks that were actually on the lawn, appeared to be waiting for him. But the deal is, drivers on the road, they're going to be making a right turn or a left turn. They look, they see that motorcycle off in the distance, not realizing this bike moving almost at 100 miles an hour, and they think they're clear, they think they have enough room, and they make that turn in front of that motorcycle, and that's when those collisions happen. The bike right now making another U-turn right there, maybe heading back over to that area, or perhaps staying, we'll keep an eye on it. Looks like he's unloading some Yeah, it looks like he's unloading something right there. I don't know why he would do that. It looks like he threw a duffel or a backpack out there. But that was kind of interesting. So, Bobby, this brings us back to the original. Maybe there's a reason why this motorcycle doesn't have any plates on it. And maybe this rider not just wanted for speed. Ooh, look at that one.
Yeah.
You've
got a really close eye there, Stu. We want to tell our viewers, again, we're watching a high-speed pursuit. A motorcyclist wanted for high speed, for driving at an unsafe speed and no tags, did not stop in the East San Gabriel Valley area. We're looking at the West Covina area, and you're watching the Fox 11 News at noon as we bring you this breaking news. And Stu, again, I didn't see that particular spot where you said that he motioned towards some people in a neighborhood, and looks like this motorcyclist continues to stay in this general vicinity in the West Covina area, even going in and around not just surface streets, but really into the neighborhoods as well. And then you also said that it also appeared like he maybe got rid of something or dropped something, opened his jacket, it almost looked like.
He definitely threw a duffel out of that off the motorcycle into somebody's driveway back there. Don't know if it was somebody that he knows or anything like that. I'm sure it's on tape. If one of our techs might be able to go back and see that real quick, it was pretty clear that it was a large black duffel that he actually threw out there. Don't know if he pulled it out of his jacket or maybe it was just attached to the bike somewhere. But also there was definitely two people out on the lawn there when he made that turn. They were, basically cheering this guy on as he made that turn. So right now the pursuit continues. Looks like he's picking another residential area, perhaps to make his way into a home, or maybe at least a neighborhood where he knows where he's at. But again, this is just one of those ones where we watch it. We're thankful that nobody's getting hurt, but this motorcycle continues to take these chances and these risks. It's just like anything else. It's not a if you're gonna fall. It's a when you're gonna fall. And you saw him right there, just lose it a little bit. Also, something, Bobby, that you've got to think about is this rider. It must be starting to get exhausted. Clearly, he's just riding that motorcycle, but clearly there must be adrenaline going on there. Riding a bike like that, it does involve some physical strength. Maybe he's starting to get a little bit exhausted, and hopefully his decision-making process will come to the point where he's like, I'm going to pull over, I'm going to bring this to an end before he makes a mistake that's going to injure himself or somebody else.
It's just my guess, just based on where this motorcyclist is going. It almost seems that he is going in a neighborhood that he knows, because it almost seems like just based on the circling, he's circling streets in and around this one neighborhood. Doesn't seem to be, as we see these pursuits, and this driver can travel at a very high rate of speed in any direction and go anywhere. And basically the freeways are very close. You've got the 10 freeway, the 605 not that far away. Certainly he could go onto some of the freeways, but this driver seems to be circling this West Covina area, particularly that neighborhood. And then we saw also some of these shopping centers in and around that neighborhood as well. Just kind of almost yahooing it, if you will, slowing, stopping, and then speeding up at a really high rate of speed. And there you see doing a U-turn right in the middle of an intersection. So it almost appears that this driver is in a neighborhood, or at least in an area that he's familiar with, onto a sidewalk now.
Yeah, and we're, just so the public kind of knows the general area, we're off of Francisquito Avenue and near Sunset, near Glendora, just in Merced. It's basically in that giant block area right there in the West Covina area, and it almost appears that we've been going by that same shopping center. I haven't seen the Big Five is what I've been using as my reference point, but I haven't seen it rolling through there again. You clearly saw it. We just crossed over Sunset. So I don't know if he's making his way out towards Orange, because he was on Orange earlier on, but really picking up some speed again right there. Shirt and his hoodie basically blowing up the back of his back. But at any rate, every time he opens it up like that, every time he really starts to move that motorcycle along, you just hope that those tires stay to the ground, and you also hope that no other vehicle isn't expecting him to be going 100 miles an hour, going to change lanes or do anything that's unexpected in front of that motorcycle. That rider might be getting tired. We've been seeing a little bit slower movement with the bike, even though on the straightaways he's still really opening it up. But all those hard turns, all that going through areas, and it could get exhausting for that rider. So that's something else to consider. And as he gets more exhausted, he might be prone to make some more mistakes or unable to control that motorcycle the best that he could. So right now we're keeping an eye on it. I can tell you the Sheriff's Department has not let this go, but it is because of safety. They're not on the ground, and they also feel that it's almost, that the rider is taunting the deputies, and it also might be a problem. They're thinking that maybe if he doesn't see those deputies down there, he's going to be able to, maybe slow down or make some better decisions. Looks like right now he's making a decision to get some fuel.
Well, now he seems to be talking to some of the people fueling up at this gas station.
Yeah, and you almost wonder if he's going to try to. Yeah, he just jacked that guy's fuel right there. And at a couple of dollars a gallon, that's that's almost petty theft. At any rate, he just took a squirt or two, and that's about it. But so it does show you he might be running on empty. Just a gallon on that bike will get you a good distance. He's continuing on there. Wow.
It's interesting because I had that question, and I'm not sure. I'm not a motorcyclist, so I don't know how long a motorcycle can run on a tank of gas, especially if you're unloading at very high rates of speed here. You're going to have to. We often talk about during chases how long you only can run on the one tank of gas, right? You have to gas up, but again, it goes to the fact that these motorcyclists, you can be so nimble and. It's interesting how that woman, of course, she did the right thing. He probably said, "Hey, let me have some gas here." She goes back in her vehicle. He grabs the pump for just a second and gives himself a couple of gallons, and he's back on the run again.
Yep, and he hasn't popped. There he is. He just came out the other side, but yeah, it's one of those ones. And now he's starting, to gesture. It seems like he's almost gesturing to anybody that's going to look at him. I find it hard to believe that, just a lot of these random folks down there actually are watching or know that this is a chase. Also, Bobby, that was one of the things that I noticed. Besides the fact that he just basically stole gas from those people right there, is that all of a sudden there was a lot of black and whites in the area. You saw that CHP cruiser nearby all of a sudden, and then you also saw another sheriff's deputy driving up the road. So they are in the area, and this is one of the things you talked about, and I was so hopeful that you were right about this one. It looks like we're getting on the 10 freeway. So maybe we're going to go back to where this kind of started. The only plus on this is that there aren't a lot of turns, there aren't any intersections, but definitely we've seen this rider really driving very, very quickly. And again, this falls back into the same thing. You're driving along, you're going to make a lane change, you check your mirrors, you might see this motorcycle far off in the distance. Nobody's thinking that, that bike is going to be right there because he's going 100 miles an hour, and you're going to do that lane change safely, and then the next thing you know, you make contact with a motorcyclist. That's one of the big risks out there. I'm the guy that always, when there's traffic, I'll move over if I hear them coming or I see them in the rearview mirror, but when you're going 100 miles an hour and traffic's going 70, it becomes very, very dangerous for these riders. And, these are the decisions that they're making. And in the end, it could ruin, a driver, somebody in a car's day, and it might really ruin that rider's day.
I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong, and yeah, I still do believe that he knows that West Covina area. He's familiar with that area, but then decided to get here on the freeway and then just, again, unload there. By the way, that 76 gas station in West Covina was on Puente and Francisquito, and so right there in the middle of the West Covina area, and now
North 605.
Merging onto the 605, you said, Stu?
I'm sorry. No, we were just talking about what freeway he was on inside the helicopter. Sorry about that, Bobby. We're north on the 605 freeway from the westbound 10. That's basically where we just transitioned. Now we're north on the 605. He could make his way back into that same neighborhood. Basically just take the 605 up to the 210 and then drop back south again. Maybe he's just burning off that fuel, that little bit of extra fuel he got there. For the most part, you have to think that rider must know that the sheriff's helicopter is above, and they're going to keep an eye on him. If he's trying to formulate a plan, well, you can try all you want. The reality is if that motorcycle belongs to him, and it probably does, just out of, general thought, probably does belong to him. The reality is that bike is going to get impounded, and he probably is going to have a lot of explaining to do how to get it back and or lose it in this as an outcome. But right now, luckily, there hasn't been any. Luckily, and the thing too, a quick move like that, a driver that's unaware might not hit that motorcycle, but might lock up the brakes, create another problem. Yeah. There's a lot going on out here, but the most dangerous thing is that rider on that motorcycle, extremely high speeds, running from law enforcement, and you got to be clear about this. There's nobody behind him. So if anybody's watching and saying, well, that's one of the reasons why the law enforcement doesn't stay behind so many times, is because they feel that that rider or the person they're pursuing will look in the rearview mirror, and now he doesn't have that tension, or her, that tension of, I've got to run. And we've seen it work many times in the past, but that helicopter definitely above it, definitely keeping an eye on it, and also informing officers and deputies on the ground where this rider is, where he's going, and where he might stop. And like I said, we saw that at the gas station. All of a sudden, that vehicle stopped, got some fuel, and there was a bunch of black and whites right there. So they were making their way in to kind of lock down that area. Sadly, that rider got the fuel and took off. Right now, we're going to be northbound, 605 freeway coming up near the Santa Fe Dam area. The 210 is his options. If not, he's basically going to dump himself out on the Huntington Drive up the Duarte area. But right now, basically still driving much faster than freeway speeds. And like we've been saying, helicopters above.
Okay, northbound on the 605. The reality is, Stu, you've been doing this much longer than I have. You've watched these pursuits over and over again, and you've seen, I think people out know already that there are helicopters overhead watching. We have a split box here because we want to show, you were telling us earlier that as he was going through the West Covina area, he seemed to be waving at people on the side of the street. We're going to take a closer look at this right here as he goes through that neighborhood. And we were talking about how it seemed almost as if this motorcyclist was familiar with the West Covina area, just circling those streets for a very long period of time. So we're watching just on the right side of your screen. This is that time when just a short while ago, going through a neighborhood and was waving at people in some sort of a neighborhood. And we're back here on this live shot here on, as you said, the 605 freeway. So we should be approaching the 210 freeway, Stu?
Definitely getting very close to the 210 freeway. I'm keeping an eye on that little white car right there. At first, I thought it was a Subaru, but it might be something else. But definitely was at least is keeping up pace or best he can with that motorcyclist. Now he's kind of got blocked in. So it looks like because he's leaning over towards the right lanes right there, we're definitely going to be we have to take the 210. But I'm guessing we're going to be doing an eastbound. But that's just a shot in the dark right there. We're going to keep an eye on it. He's crossing back down. Look at that, right across the gore point. That's some dangerous moves for a motorcycle. So it looks like, and now definitely we're committed to the westbound. So now we're going to be doing westbound 210. So we're basically getting out of that area that we thought that he was so familiar with, or maybe he is, and he's just leaving it. We just don't know. But at any rate, on that transition, you can see looks like a deputy's vehicle right there, not California Highway Patrol. But, is it just coincidence? Yeah, there's two of them. So is it coincidence? It might be. We'll see here just a moment as that motorcycle basically gets into the lanes out here, establishes that transition, and now we are westbound 210 freeway in the Duarte area, and you can see it right there, really starting to pick up some speed again. But we know he's low on fuel, and I don't know how much fuel he could have possibly got there. Maybe a gallon. Usually when I grab those pumps, they go really, really slow, never fast enough. So, but any fuel is enough to keep him moving, and that's what he's doing right now. And making our way to Mountain. It'll be the first or next off-ramp right there, and continue. Yep, looks like we're getting off at Mountain. So keep an eye on where he's going.
My point that I was making earlier, Stu, again, you've been doing this for a long time, and I think by now, don't you think these drivers know that there are helicopters overhead, that they are being watched? I mean, sometimes they even just motion to the helicopters overhead overhead telling them to try and tell them to back off. And it would just be impossible for officers on the roads to follow this motorcyclist safely, chasing it through streets and surface streets and neighborhoods and the like.
Definitely, and of course they know that they're being followed. Of course they know that there's somebody watching them, and it isn't just coincidence. I'm kind of wondering right now. I'm kind of stumbling around right here. If he's garage, because we're back into another shopping center area. It seems to be one of the spots where he likes to go to or drive through. I'm not really sure what that is all about. I believe we're back onto Central right now. This is paralleling the 210 freeway. The traffic out here, when he was making that one little turn there, cutting those people off, making the wide right-hand turns, and those are.
Didn't even know that this was a pursuit that was going on, and just sees another motorcycle pulling up, and this does the Fast and the Furious and says, hey, we're still in a pandemic. There's still not as many cars on the roadway. Let's go, right? And then realizes, maybe I shouldn't do this.
But, well, hopefully he got that. That reasoning came to that other guy pretty quickly. This one we've been watching here moving along pretty well. The 210, if he does do that La Cañada thing, it's going to be really tough for Skyfox. The weather really is coming down. The clouds are coming down. I'm hoping for the 134 so that at least we can keep following along. But it definitely looks like he's either getting off the freeway right there in the Pasadena area, saying that for our pilot Adam today to keep an eye on it. Definitely got off the freeway, and there he is. So we'll keep an eye on where he's going, what's going on right there. But hopefully he's going to make a turn to the south, and he is. But again, it's just one of those ones where you want this to come to an end safely. But every time he goes through one of these intersections, right there's another one that the building's kind of blocking us. We have to keep a little bit more separation with the helicopters today because of the weather and because of the fact that visibility is so limited. That's one of the reasons why Skyfox is staying a little bit farther away right now. Hopefully we'll get back into the fold here in just a moment or two. But I'm looking out the window for you, Vinny, just to keep an eye on it. If I see him moving, I'll holler it out. Okay, but right now we're making our way back to where we last saw him, and keeping an eye on that intersection. That's where he should pop out, but we'll keep an eye out and see where he went to.
So this is definitely the Pasadena area, right?
Definitely
Stu?
Pasadena.
So it was the 210 freeway. I think it's close to maybe Lake. So a big
Walnut and Hudson. So Walnut and Hudson is where he's at. So he's basically paralleling the freeway. He's paralleling the freeway. Adam, he's that way. Okay.
Walnut and Hudson in the city of Pasadena. All right, we're going to give Skyfox and Stu an opportunity.
He's on the street that's paralleling, Vinny. So he's
reposition
over there.
Somewhere. There you see some of the water on the lens. I think our viewers can see that. So just to give them an idea of what the situation we're dealing with a high-speed pursuit of a motorcyclist in really unsafe conditions. So we have some water still pooling on the roadways, some slick roads, and this driver traveling at a very high rate of speed, triple-digit speeds, over 120 miles per hour on our area freeways, from the 10 to the 610 to the 210 freeway, and now jumping off into the Pasadena area. I want to show you some video of what was going on earlier. Now, this pursuit was happening mainly in the West Covina area. There on the right side of your screen, you see that the motorcyclist threw some sort of a duffel bag in that area, and Stu and I were just guessing that this motorcyclist didn't know or is familiar with the Pasadena area, perhaps knows someone in that area, because he spent a large portion of this pursuit, at least in the early part of this pursuit, just circling around the West Covina area, even at one point going into a gas station, seemingly running out of gas or low on gas, and taking a pump from someone who was pumping gas in their vehicle and adding some more fuel into the motorcycle. And now the motorcyclist continues to go. between some buildings here.
It looks like he went in.
We do have a view of this, Stu.
Went into a parking garage.
Go ahead, Stu.
It looks like it definitely went into a parking garage right there because we saw him there for a second or two, Bobby. Thank you, Pete, for calling it out. That was the black and white. That's going to be Pasadena PD. This is going to be one of those ones again where they're going to have to get a number of officers out here to lock down. That is a large parking garage. And Vinny doing the right thing right now for sure. We're going to keep an eye, like a wide shot like that, just to see if that he pops out on the other side right there.
This is what I was talking about earlier. We saw this driver going in and around parking lots and maneuvering very quickly, and how a motorcycle is so agile, and you're able to move so quickly, and officers and vehicles have a tough time trying to follow the motorcyclist. And then when you get into a situation like this, when you pull into a parking garage, and you can see this is multiple levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 levels in this parking garage, and no telling where inside the parking garage the motorcyclist might have ended up or is driving around.
They need to get the backside.
And then can really easily get out of the motorcycle and then get on foot and try to get away from the officers. So right now, you see a couple of black and whites that were following very closely behind as best they could. They look to be surrounding this parking structure, likely on all 4 sides here. So trying to contain the area and to try and make sure that they see this driver before the driver tries to get away. Looks like I'm looking at possibly Los Robles Avenue. Does that sound right, Stu?
Yep, it's going to be off Los Robles, and it's going to be south of Colorado. So it's going to there you go, it's Green Street. Thank you, Vinny. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. We're reading the street signs. The only thing is he picked up on the bad side for that suspect, or the good side for law enforcement. Depends on how you look at it. I'm always I like the positive sides. Is that this is a parking garage, and of course you're going to say, well, that's a great thing, but this one is basically a parking garage that stands by itself. There's a bridge right there that takes you across the way. It isn't part of a mall, so I'm guessing there aren't multiple entrances into buildings. So even if he does dump that motorcycle in there and law enforcement find that bike, where's he going to go? If he's going to leave that building, chances are they're going to see him, because it isn't like he can blend into the mall or anything like that. It looks like this is basically a freestanding parking garage. So that's going to be a plus for law enforcement if they are going to, to try to really get that guy in custody. I'm surprised they're still allowing vehicles to basically just park in there. There's something going on right there at the corner, Vinny. And that was the guy, he was looking to Vinny. Vinny's on it all the time. I just got to tell you, Vinny was watching that guy earlier on, and we didn't see where he came from, but it definitely appears that is the suspect right there, being taken into custody, taking off his hoodie and just trying to blend in. But definitely got that guy in custody right there. But
Vinny Mac has some eyes, man. He has some eyes. He's been up there a long time, but his eyesight has not waned. He's got great eyesight. It's interesting that this motorcyclist almost looked like he tried to dump off the jacket, the helmet, to try, as you said, to just blend in. But I don't think that obviously didn't fool officers. I mean, let's hope they got the right guy here.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe he wasn't dressed the part because it is very cold and rainy out there, and perhaps the fact that he wasn't wearing any kind of jacket or hoodie might have been one of the reasons why he got caught. But Vinny is all about the shoes. He's a shoe guy, that Vinny, and he was looking at the shoes. That's what he's telling me right now.
He's a shoe man.
So at any rate, the suspect in custody there after a long pursuit. Thank goodness nobody got hurt.
I got to remember that. Always look at the shoes, because what are you going to do?
The shoes.
Right? Okay. This is, by the way, the Paseo. It's all part of the Paseo Mall, the Paseo shopping mall. So this is a parking structure that is adjacent to the Paseo shopping mall, the big shopping mall there in Pasadena, and it looks like this driver, pulls off the 210 freeway, gets onto Pasadena streets, and then tries to evade police officers by going into this parking garage. We've seen other chases end like this before, Stu, where they go into these parking garages and they actually get away. So that is a tactic that I have seen before, but that wasn't the case in this situation here. It looks like it's the end of this pursuit that ends in Pasadena, and fortunately, from what we could tell from the time that we have been looking at this for about 45 minutes now, as this motorcyclist was traveling at a very high rate of speed. It looks like, at least what we can tell, no one was hurt. So that's a real good situation there. It looks like this driver now in custody. All right, Stu Mundell in Sky Fox, as well as